Hey everyone, this is Clipper from Polyhedra Games. Today we're going to do a little tutorial on how to create a character in Justice Velocity. So Justice Velocity is an action movie inspired tabletop RPG. It's based on things like the Fast and Furious franchise, Bad Boys, Rush Hour, a lot of 80s and 90s action movies as well, like Escape from New York, things like that. It basically revolves around buff dudes, explosions, fast cars, all that good stuff. And um, Justice Velocity, we're doing a character in Justice Velocity today, but this will also be cross-applicable to any Polyhedra game system, like the upcoming Nebula Chaos, which is a sci-fi themed tabletop RPG, or the Polyhedra Core system, which will also be coming out eventually and is pretty adaptable. So today we're also using the Justice Velocity character creator, which you can find on our website at polyhedragames.com. And we're also using the Justice Velocity Digital Edition, which came out in 2019. Ideally, usually, since it's a pretty quick-paced, relatively lightweight system, you should be able to, with a knowledgeable GM, kind of come up with characters in maybe like 15 minutes or so. This is going to be a little longer today, probably, because I'm going to be explaining things as I go. But that being said, it's a pretty simple, straightforward kind of thing. Um, the character generator isn't completely necessary. It does make things a little bit easier, but you can use, you know, a piece of notebook paper if you want, or a index card or a Google Doc, whatever you have available. So yeah, let's just get right to it. So I just sort of came up with this idea for a character concept. He's just going to be kind of like a generic action movie hero, like a Van Damme or like a Arnold Schwarzenegger type of dude. So he should be able to, punch things and shoot things and do all that good stuff. We're naming him Dax Metallic, which seems like a fittingly over-the-top name. He's a hired gun slash bounty hunter. And just to start, we start with the base statistics section. So this is Justice Velocity is a 2d6 base system. It's also a point buy system. So what that means is we are rolling two six-sided dice whenever we're doing a check. If we need to figure out if we're lifting something, for instance, we would add 3 to that, which is our power score currently. If we're shooting or driving, we would add dex. Personality is used for interpersonal interactions, so things like diplomacy, bluffing, stuff like that. Intelligence is used for hacking and knowledge skills, and will is kind of a wild card ability, but it's mostly used in abilities and activating high octane mode. But you can see down here where we get into the skills, there's also these kind of more general sort of skills like resist, endurance, and sense motive, which it's used for. So we're just going to use the base 20 for our stats that the game calls for. Also in the character generator, you can do more than 20 to start with. If you're making like an NPC or a higher level character, but we're going to start with the base 20. And also for starting characters, it's recommended that they have a minimum of 1 in each stat and a maximum of 6 to begin with. So we're going to make him pretty strong here, pretty agile. Maybe not the greatest personality, probably about average intelligence, and we're also going to drop another point in for will so that he can use some abilities. And then we're going to go to the subsection here, which is health points. So this is calculated based off of your power. I believe the formula is your power times 2 plus your will plus 5. So that'd be 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14, plus 5 is 19. Cool. And then your juice score, this is basically what you use. You expend juice to do certain abilities. It's kind of like mana almost in like what would be mana in like a fantasy setting. So that's based off of your will score. You can also spend some of your starting 10 ability points or recommended starting 10 ability points to increase your HP, as you see here. So an extra HP is 1 point. or an extra juice is 2 points. We're just going to leave it as is for right now and spend our ability points on the below section, which includes skill specialties and abilities. So we spent all our stat points. We're all good on that. And then, like I said, our 10 ability points can be divvied up here into 2 different categories. First, we have skill specialties. So like we discussed before, whenever you're doing a check, like drive, for instance, you would add your dex, which is 6. So I'd be doing 2d6 plus 6, which is pretty strong to begin with. But if I wanted to be especially apt at a certain skill, I can specialize in it, which will cost 2 ability points. It can only be taken once, but if you get that, you get a +2 on top of that. So I would roll 2d6 plus 8 if I have the drive skill specialty, for instance. So, and these are kind of like gone into in more depth in the book. So for instance, let's take a look at rage in the book here. We're going to go to the abilities section, which is in the appendices, but you can also find it in chapter 6. So rage says expend 2 juice to add an extra power bonus to a melee damage roll. Must be declared before an attack. So that sounds pretty good. He should be able to punch pretty hard, rage out here. So we spent 2 AP on that. We'll also, let's say he's acrobatic. He should be able to nimbly leap and stuff like that. So he's got a power ability. He's got acrobatics. Let's give him drive as well. And let's see. We've got 4 left here. Let's also give him the gunslinger ability and drifting. Yeah, so that should be pretty good. Actually, yeah, that should be fine. I was gonna make a quick note here. One of the things that trips people up sometimes is if a character is trained in martial arts, it's actually listed under the weapons section. So there's untrained unarmed combat, which everyone has, which is just when you're just punching someone straight up, it's a power roll for damage. If you are trained, you can take that as an ability for 3 AP, and then your damage would be powered plus 1d6. Or if you are have a higher level of training in it, you can basically do as much damage as like a rifle would, just because it's like over the top and pretty out there. But you'd have to plop down quite a bit of AP on that. This guy, I think he reads kind of as more of a gunslinger with a little bit of melee on the side, so we're not going to do that. But just something to keep in mind. But yeah, by this point we spent all our AP, spent all our stat points. He's looking pretty good. We're not going to train him in martial arts necessarily, but now we need to get some items and equipment. So typically, this will be up to GM discretion, but what I do in a lot of my games is we limit it based on like, starting characters can get 3 tier 1 items, 2 tier 2 items, and 1 tier 3 item or something like that. We're just going to pick a few today based on his character profile, but that's kind of something that you would do at character creation just to make sure everything's relatively balanced. So we're going to give him a pistol here like he has in his picture, which is going to do dex plus 1d6 damage. We're just going to note it there for ourselves. This is a character creation video, but as a quick note here, we'll talk about combat for a moment. So a basic check is just 2d6 plus your relevant stat. It's basically the same in combat, except you're making an opposed roll versus an enemy character. So in order to do a melee attack, you would roll 2d6 and add 5. If you're doing a dex-based attack like a ranged weapon, you do 2d6 plus 6. And then you'll compare that to the target's dodge or block roll. Usually you just want to choose whichever is higher. So for this guy, his dex is higher, so if someone's attacking me, I'm going to roll 2d6 plus my dex, which is 6, um, and try to dodge attacks. But if you're like a super buff guy, you can sort of like block attacks, or I mean, it's kind of more like abstract and video gamey, but like if your character has a shield or something like that, that makes sense that they would be blocking attacks with. You usually roll block, but yeah, just in my games, we usually just say whichever's higher. And as such, this is listed in the skills here. Um, Dodge and block are, uh, but they're just for reference on which base stat to use. You can't level them because it would make it a little unfair, but they're listed here as well. So yeah, just back to the items here. We're gonna give you a pistol. Oh, and then, you know, if he does successfully hit, he'll get to roll his dex, which is 6, plus one 6-sided dice to determine how much damage he's gonna do. So we'll give him a pistol. We'll give him a health pack. He'll probably have something like leather armor, which gives him a damage reduction of 1. That just means that when he gets hit for an attack, so for instance, if he gets hit by a pistol and an enemy deals him dex plus 1d6 damage, he'll get a knock 1 off of that, and then subtract the remainder from his HP here. And then we're also going to give him, let's see, let's see, pistol, health pack, leather armor. That's pretty good starting equipment type of situation. We'll give him a frag grenade as well. 2d6 plus dex to 15 foot by 15 foot area, or 3x3, just a medium area. Also in Justice Velocity, you can play on a grid or in squares, but also it works really well for Theater of the Mind. So you might not need all of these more specific measurements, so just to give you an idea. And we're also going to give him, yeah, let's give him a motorcycle helmet, which will do 2 DR against headshots. And since he's probably a driving, or relatively driving-based character, he should have a cool car. So let's go to the vehicles section here. Give him something to work with. So we'll give him a car 1. We'll say like a Mustang, a blue Mustang. She'll have 20 HP, acceleration +1, steering +1, and 1 nitro upgrade. And then we'll give him 1 vehicle upgrade here as well. So these have some brand new tires on them rather, which will give him a bonus to acceleration. And there we go. That's essentially a completed character. Sometimes you can use this note section just to say like, Dax Metallic is a hard-broiled hired gun from the mean streets of Justice City. There's no job he can't handle, ... as long as the price is right. And there we go. Yeah, so that's basically it. You know, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. It's a point buy system, so you should be able to create pretty much any type of character that would fit this setting, with a little bit of know-how. There's lots of different types. I mean, generally speaking, in the rulebook, you have, I'll just go through the pre-made characters here. There's a driver-based character, a face who does more of like the persuasion on behalf of the party and stuff like that. You've got a gunner who's more a gun-based character, a hacker, mechanic, medic, martial artist, so on and so forth. And since I mean, those are just ideas, right? And they're pre-generated, but there's no like class system. So you could have, a charismatic buff guy or, a hacker slash gunner, just however you want to spend your points and whatever type of character you want to build. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I do want to do another video kind of delving more into the driving mechanics, but as it is now, this character by the book is ready to go, ready to play. You might need to tweak the items and equipment and the cards based on whatever campaign you're playing or whatever your GM discretion is. But yeah, this is pretty much ready to go. So yeah, like I said, I'm hoping to make another video about the vehicular mechanics, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully this is a good start on how to make a cool action movie character that you can start rolling some dice with. All right, thanks. Have a good one. Bye.